If your business has been sustained on 6, 7, or even 8-figure government contracts, I want to have a real conversation with you about what 2024 brought. The fact that several businesses overnight with these large contracts, you were forecasting out years into how these opportunities were going to create consistent revenue for your business. It was set in stone. I'm sure a lot of people thought that government contracts were as surefire as it could get, unless there were these crazy things that have happened over the last few years that no one could have anticipated. Most people probably believe that they were safe if they had these government opportunities. Like, the government's never going to run out of money. Maybe not. But shift in administration has caused several small businesses to be under fire. This started in 2024, but the effects are still being felt today. And I imagine if you're watching this, you are experiencing similar growing pains, pivoting pains, and learning how now to enter a different space, because we don't know when or if these opportunities are going to circle back. I want to be able to open up the door on this conversation because my goal and my platform is to showcase and ensure that people know their expertise and their brilliance belongs in the corporate space. To take away any of the complexities or blocks that may be keeping you from going after corporate contracts. This is an opportunity and shift for you. One of the things that I like to say is that money never disappears, it just moves. As a corporate salesperson, that's what I had to learn. We experience these situations very often where companies would shift, organizations would shift. Oh, we got tariffs from China, right? All these different external and economic things would happen. But one thing we had to focus on, and I remember one of our leaders saying this, is control the controllables. Everything going on in Washington, we cannot control. But what we can look at is where are our skill sets of value and how can we move to those spaces and position ourselves better? I want to let you know that if you have gone through the government contracting process, meaning paperwork and RFPs and all that it takes to get in the door to even solidify these opportunities, please know that you are primed and positioned for serving in the private, commercial, B2B corporate world. Because those things just boil down to a conversation. They boil down to relationships. They boil down to being able to solve a problem that these organizations have. And you already have past performance doing it with the largest corporate or institutional customer in the country, the US government. Okay? These opportunities are all around you. Even talks about the corporate space and DEI being a part of the conversation and many companies pulling back on that. There are still several companies that are doubling down and still focused on DEI. And where companies have shifted their language, they're still doubling down on leadership and coaching for their employees. So if you have a firm where you're doing some type of consulting around human resources, DEI, human capital, talent acquisition, all of those areas, you are, again, this lane is opening up for you. Not enough people are at the table. In fact, I did some research recently to look at what organizations are still on the DEI path, are still looking at investing in their people. And there are several, even down to school systems, you all. So we're talking about corporations as an umbrella, but when it comes to it, your services could be a great fit for universities, K-12, nonprofits. And these are sizable 5-figure offers that just require you to show up, do your thing, and go home. No subcontractors, no paperwork, no chasing down net 60, net 90, or whatever the case may be with these payment arrangements. None of that. Your brilliance, not even having to do the work for them or consult and payroll, none of that. Showing up, sharing your brilliance, giving a clear roadmap to get these corporations to a specific outcome, which is not that hard for you, I'll tell you right now, are ways and opportunities that you could be positioning yourself to fill in the gap for these contracts. Because again, we don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this administration. But I think this is a great wake-up call for us to understand how we should be positioning ourselves and always be ready to move and shift with whatever way the economy shifts, move and shift in whatever way the administration shifts. Although this is a situation, I hate to see it. Like, I have done some updated research to just look at what companies are experiencing. I hate to see that career development companies have lost out on $4 of every $5 in revenue when the federal government canceled all of its contracts. Organizations that had 36 hours to take out all of their DEI language so that they could still be eligible for these contracts. Companies that literally have lost their one source of revenue because they thought that this 8-figure contract was all they needed to have a successful business. While those things may have worked, this is a new day and a pivot is required. Companies are looking for you. There are not enough people at the table. When I think about the corporate landscape from what I've seen, there is one particular person type that is consistently at the table. And it's not a diverse enough space. And there's opportunity. It does not have to be complicated to get into these spaces. And it does not have to take years. There are companies where at the time of recording this, we're in the first quarter of the year. There are companies that are preparing for budget in June 30th. They're having conversations now about doing deals ahead of time for that particular season. They're having budget meetings now. They're figuring out what things they're focused on and what contractors or what vendors they need to hire now. If you're not in the conversation, you're missing windows every single day. Even on a basic level, talking about what I said with universities and other organizations you could be working with. These universities sign 5-figure contracts for people to come in and speak to their students. How many of you, I just want you to think about this to yourself right now. Do you have an hour to go collect a 5-figure check and go speak to some students about what you know and go home? Who's saying no to that? There's no client deliverables. There's no people to hire. There's no team. Your team can work the business as it is today. What you can focus on is getting out there, sharing what you have going on, and getting these contracts replaced with just a few deals with organizations. This looks like a very simplified process. Number one, it's about packaging and positioning. What you're talking about now is already good enough for these organizations. You're primed. All you need to do is speak about it in a way that drives results for that organization instead of a government agency. Switch of language, right? I did this here. Here's how it applies here. You worked with leaders before in the government space. They're the same leaders are in the corporate space. Now you're just talking about bottom line. Now you're talking about retention, which is something that you probably also talked about there. It's just a switch in language to what these organizations would be focused on, which very easy information to get, and then be able to speak about how you can drive them to that result. The second piece is going to be getting in front of them. Whereas in the government space, SAM.gov and, going out and meeting primes and meeting decision makers, which is not what they would technically be called in the government space. But y'all get it. Y'all know the space. I know the corporate space. So I'm telling y'all what I know based on my experience. But all of those contracting officers, that's what I wanted to get out. All of that process is very systematic. In the corporate space, you get to create your own opportunities, y'all. This is why I love this space so much, because in corporate, in government, there is this RFP system, this RFP engine. And RFPs exist in corporations as well. I've done several throughout my career. What I love about corporate is that you can create an opportunity anytime that you want. Anytime. As I just mentioned with the university piece, That's something that these organizations are always looking for. They're not looking for just people to come and speak for free. They actually have budget for trainers to come in and talk on subjects that you probably don't even have to put together a slide deck for. Things that you could literally just riff off, give them 3 good points, present well. If you're an eloquent speaker, if you've done speaking as a part of building your business, you will be off to the races and can collect multiple 5-figure checks just using that same process over and over again. So from there, as you're positioning and marketing yourself for these opportunities, understanding that they are number one in certain spaces. So getting your LinkedIn, which I'm sure you're already using, is going to be a key way for individuals to be able to find you in this space. It's not the only way, but it's going to be the key space. So you want to start thinking about, how do you position your LinkedIn to not just speak to you being a government contractor, but what can you provide for private sector? What companies can get out of working with you and bringing you in for whatever it is that you offer? That. Second thing is going to be, go directly to these people who make the decisions. I don't think anybody's too cool to knock on doors. I don't think anybody is too cool to get out there, talk about what you do, build new relationships, and perhaps you are already in rooms with corporate decision makers. Perhaps they're already in your network, but you just haven't tapped into them yet. So maybe you don't even need to get new people. But those who you are in the room with, you've got to know how to speak in a way that aligns with what they need. Companies want to make more money or save more money. That's another thing that I write about and talk about in detail in my book. That's what matters. So you've got to know, in the corporate space, what is the main conversation going on right now? Layoffs. The interesting thing about this that I have been in rooms and have heard is that even through layoffs, companies are still signing 5-figure contracts with vendors and consultants just like you. Remember, I said the money moves, never disappears. Companies are literally not increasing promotions. I think this is not good, by the way, but it just is what it is. So I think about it like, what side you going to play it on? Are you going to play on the side that is the most vulnerable, or are you going to figure out how to be on the side of not necessarily defense, but offense? Where it's like, okay, I can't control the controllables. I can't control the fact that they're not going to do this. But where are they spending money, and how can I align with that? So anyway, a guy, literally a consultant in the room, said he had signed a 5-figure contract with an organization that had just announced they're not doing any internal promotions for the year. Again, I think that's terrible as a employee. I don't like that. But what game are we going to play? How can we use that information that we can't control? Because they're not going to do it anyway. We can be as mad as we want to be about it. Nothing is going to change. So how do we get on the other side? That type of information is what should drive you to this sector even more, because it's the best way, it's the best roadmap to be able to replace these contracts that you've lost overnight. Without changing anything in your business, without coming up with a different offer, a different way to, serve people. It's the same outcome, same materials, same development, same outcome, different end user. Once you have marketed and started to get in the rooms, understanding exactly how you're going to speak about what you do, then you want to have a system. Again, if you have navigated the government system as far as payments, contracts, and all of that, this is going to be a breeze for you. All you need to do is understand the pieces and steps that a corporation typically does when they have you come on site or when they work with you virtually. Hello. How about virtual opportunities? Are we here for those? Let me know in the comments. Are we here for those? Are we here for virtual 5-figure contracts with corporations? Do your thing and go home, or do your thing and close the laptop. These are the ways that I want to submit to you to start thinking about what this can look like for you, because it doesn't have to be a disaster. It's just an opportunity to get more clarity on what the game plan is for you. What is the system? How are you leveraging the context that you already have to create these opportunities? Maybe you've had some in the past and you've just been out of the game for a while and you need to know how to get it back started. All of those things should be the focus for you if you're looking at replacing those government opportunities. So that if and when they circle back, which I believe they will, we just don't know when that's going to be, you're not waiting on that. You've already got a solid position on how you are moving into the private sector. You've got multi-year contracts with the private sector and many different organizations, from corporation, university, nonprofit, K-12. My school system here where I'm located spends $400,000 a year on professional development. One school district. Do you think that you could get a part of that? That's just my one school district. I do live in a bigger city. That's just one. Imagine all the school districts in one metropolitan area. Imagine all the school districts in the country and being positioned to work with them. Some, it do go through a local or government, bidding process. Some don't. Some universities do, some don't. Break the barriers and start to build a system that's going to allow you to close these opportunities. And if this is something that you want to build, this is what we're focused on in my company right now. Ensuring that small business, women-led firms have a solid process on how they are doing business with corporate clients moving forward, to have a repeatable system that you and your team can run like a well-oiled machine to acquire these contracts without disrupting how you do business today. It does not have to take months. It doesn't have to take years. It can take one conversation, being in the right place with the right message at the right time, that could lead to your next deal to begin filling in the gaps of these government contracts. If this is something that you're interested in, I've opened up my calendar to speak with a few people. So if you see it still available, definitely jump on and grab your spot. And let's talk about and map out your plan to replace these contract opportunities with some corporate clients that allow you to have that flexibility, that allow you to make sure that there's no gaps in revenue, but also give you some freedom from the payroll and all the subcontracting stuff, and just show up and be paid well for the things that you already know and that you've already built. Check out the link in the description to grab a time to chat with me, and I cannot wait to map out your next steps to ensure corporate clients are now a part of your Rolodex. I'll see you on a call.